Welcome to Biotech Stage. It's a stage where we talk with biotech professionals from the world and to talk something very inspirational, something very informative, and something very interesting in biotech fields. Today, our guest is Dr. Nupur Mehrotra, who is the Director of Operations at Premas Biotech. She has worked for almost 2 decades in the biotech industry. She worked as a clinician, as a biotech researcher, and she is currently leading biotech operations at Premas Biotech. Basically, a unique combination that she has, which becomes a unique recipe for success. So, welcome, Dr. Mehrotra, on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Arun, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and talking to you. Thank you.
So, Dr. Mehrotra, there are so many things to discuss with you, especially with you have so much of experience, and you probably have noticed that biotechnology has grown a lot in past 20 years. 20 years ago, people were still talking about serum-free media. People were talking about less than a gram per liter yield, and now it is all chemically defined media when it comes to monoclonal antibodies, and it is all protein-free media or animal component-free media. At the same time, in cell productivity has increased from few grams to several grams per liter. So, what changes you have seen in the past 15, 20 years, and what do you think biotech industry will be going to see in coming few years?
The last 15, 20 years, Arun, we've moved from a singular monoclonal antibody to an era, as you rightly said, we have moved from different stages of serum-free media and so on. I think we're moving into an era of highly optimized, chemically defined processes and platforms, which would routinely deliver multi-gram yields at different scales. At the same time, industry has expanded far beyond antibodies into cell and gene therapies, into novel vaccines platforms, as I said, other not novel modalities, which require completely different manufacturing and regulatory mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
Really changing now is that biology is being treated more like an engineered system. It's become more
Mm-hmm.
data driven, more automated in design. The design space is getting better defined because of the platform approach. I think we're going from molecules to a platform approach. Our manufacturing is going from flexible to more continuous, and maybe our therapies are becoming more from population based to personalized approaches.
Okay. Biotech industry has grown a lot in past 2 decades or so, and whenever industry is growing, that means a lot of opportunities. But same time, opportunities don't come just as opportunity. There are associated challenges. So I was wondering if you could tell us how you dealt with the different challenges and how do you change the opportunities into a solution or a product.
As you said, I moved from being a clinician to a scientist to an operational lead, and now, in my current role. So when I talk about challenges, they've come in different shades with a different hat you might be wearing at that point in time. It's about new tech, adaptation, development, IP space, regulatory learnings, keeping them in mind when you're developing a molecule or even a platform. So these are certain challenges that you face from the development side. As a operations leads, or even in my current role, I've more learned to deal with the people's challenges apart from the process challenges. That becomes a very important aspect of how would you take your journey forward. And how I have dealt with these, I think my simple principles have been you have to learn without barrier. You should
Mm-hmm.
not be afraid to ask something if you don't know. You should be able to say, I don't know, and can somebody tell me about it, or you go deeper into it. Secondly, you have to surround yourself with experts in that space and have to have a capable team. You also have to know that you may not be the best in the job always. So you have to be able to figure out how you can work with the experts that you've brought in the system. And thirdly, you have to have a mandate and you have to be purposeful about your decision making. I've always learned to be able to take decisions. You can go wrong and you can then course correct, but you cannot wait for things to happen. I believe that's one of the challenges you have to solve much earlier.
No, these are very important points. I mean, if somebody wants to learn and address the challenges, willingness to learn, that's a big thing. Surround yourself with the experts and ask questions. Those are the very important points. So thanks for mentioning that. I hope one of the thing is about this podcast is our audience is mainly the younger generation. the people who have 5 years or 10 years or 15 years of experience in the biotechnology, and they need these kind of guidelines. They need something which you just mentioned, what works, what doesn't work, and how they can also grow. So when we are talking about this, I also wanted to ask you that you started working as a researcher at, I think, one of the biotech company in India, and then you moved to, increasing responsibilities and became the director of operations and some other leading responsibilities. And all these responsibilities, all these different positions come with their own unique requirements. So how did you deal with those different and unique requirements? Each job has a different set of things that needed to be done. So if you could tell us something about it.
Yeah. As I said, I first started as a clinician and then moved into my role as a scientist, and then one role to the other role. And each one of them does bring different challenges. Like when you're practicing as a medical practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
you know that the people you're talking to, they would expect immediate cure, which may or may
Mm-hmm.
not win, but there's always a known and decided route. So you learn to be able to improve on your diagnostic acumen and so on. But that's where, while you may work on that set route, you don't have much room to experiment. That's what you learned as a scientist. I was always curious. I always wanted to figure out, when medicines are given and dispensed, what went into actually building that entire discovery pipeline. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I got as a flavor as a scientist. You could experiment, but then science and doing the discovery and the development pathway doesn't bring you very close to the translation always. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
able to make some decisions to see where it may work, where it may fail, and quickly come to a point where you make changes immediately. So that's one thing which you learn as an operations person, how
Mm-hmm.
to quickly understand that some set of experiments may work, some may not, and you quickly change your direction or trajectory, bring a new aspect to it, and so on and so forth. Thinking out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Operations, again, when you're growing through these, there are multiple challenges. There are people challenges, processes challenges. You have to have an ability to solve certain crises quickly. There's all, and where you want to go with your company, with your people, and be able to clearly uh, talk about it, communicate it. That becomes also a very, very important aspect of your journey.
Okay. One other thing which I wanted to find out is machine learning or AI. And nowadays, nobody can deny that AI is affecting all kinds of industries, including biotech. So, what do you think AI would have an impact on, or how it would have an impact on biotech?
AI is here to stay.
Okay.
If we say AI is different and biotech is different, that may not be the right mandate or mindset for any of us. And in my understanding, AI is not here to replace biology or
Mm-hmm.
bioengineering or drug discovery. It's here to support it.
Mm-hmm.
When we are talking of support, there are we are learning from different industries as it is. So bringing AI into it will only make it much more process driven, and I think the speed would be enhanced here.
So,
So
speed for product development, speed for analysis, purification.
absolutely. AI is, if it can be integrated with the biology and biosystems, there can be a lot of learning. And I mean, if we go a couple of decades back, we also had something where we started talking of quality and then we moved to a quality by design approach, the
Mm-hmm.
QB.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're so
Mm-hmm.
familiar with it, it's become very integrated. I think AI is similar. You have
Yeah.
this artificial intelligence, you have machine learning, and now you have to design your studies around it. So
Mm-hmm.
we could
Mm-hmm.
go into that design approach very soon with AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think even
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last week or so, we had a conversation with some of the AI experts from different fields, and they had said, I mean, if I quote the gentleman here, he had said that if we don't start utilizing or getting aware of AI processes now, in 24 to 36 months, we could be left behind. And I think I
Mm-hmm.
completely resonate with it. It's
Yeah.
we should be adapting.
Yeah, so people needs to pay more attention to AI and how it can be applicable to biotechnology and make the full use of it. So, Dr. Mehrotra, one other thing which I wanted to discuss with you is that there is industrial research and there is a research going on in the academic institutes. And most of the time, academic institutes are unable to convert their research into a commercial product, or they cannot commercialize this. So, do you have some suggestions on what they need to do, what they need to look for, or how they can get their ideas, which could be very valuable for a potential product? How they can work on their ideas so that they can commercialize or at least get into some feasibility studies for a commercial product?
When we talk of academic labs, firstly, I want to acknowledge that most of the edge ideas are coming from some of these academic labs. They are the
Mm-hmm.
fountainhead and source
Mm-hmm.
of many of the groundbreaking or path-breaking discoveries. So, my
Mm-hmm.
absolute respect to all of them. To answer your question of what could they do when they get into translating an idea into a possible commercial product, firstly, they have to keep focused on what the core problem they are solving. Sometimes what we do is
Okay.
we do everything ourselves, and we miss out on the main objective.
Mm-hmm.
If we can collaborate with others, outsource different other problems associated with their main core, they should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If the idea is indeed important and has a market demand or a need,
Mm-hmm.
and we can come to that minimum viable product very
Mm-hmm.
quickly, I think that would be the first thing to do. Once the
Mm-hmm.
POC or this MVP is established,
Mm-hmm.
then it can be kept on refining. But also, one of the most important things is to keep your one of the eyes, either the right or the left, on the cash flow. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot burn out the cash because whether it's as a academic lab or as a startup or whichever way you're funding the idea, cash flow has to be very important. We cannot keep doing many things around the periphery of the main idea so that the cash burns fast, but come to the minimal viable POC first,
Mm-hmm.
then test for its efficacy, and then see how it can be refined and taken to the next levels of commercialization. That would include regulatory, include scaling up, that would include development of processes, either which way.
Okay, so it's good to know because, as you mentioned, their core technology is important. What they focus on is important, but same time cash flow because money can be spent very fast, and they don't want to be run out of the money. So that's very important. One other thing which I wanted to discuss is the ethics in biotechnology or the public perception. Obviously, since COVID times, people are more familiar with the biotechnology. I mean, what biotech-based vaccines and things like that. But do you think biotech industry can do something so that people are more aware of biotechnology and understand how deep technology it is?
Biotech has already gone through a dramatic transformation.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, people have started talking about it, especially after COVID. The pandemic has made it a conversation which happens on even dinner tables. I think biotech has ventured in there. But
Mm-hmm.
what we can do apart from it, it's still a novel field compared to some of the basic sciences. So, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of data, trends, they are not existing for people to refer to. Secondly, there's a lot of miscommunication sometimes which is happening
Mm-hmm.
about what biotech can do or how some of the developments are being perceived. So we need to channelize that communication better. Regulatory landscape, because the field is evolving so dynamically, that has to be worked out better.
Mm-hmm.
About those meaningful conversations, the tangible changes that we expect, that
Mm-hmm.
has to go a little faster. And we can learn a lot from some of the established fields, as I said, chemistry, physics, basic biology.
Mm-hmm.
They're established for centuries. How do we
Mm-hmm.
bring some of these learning together to establish those robust processes? That probably
Mm-hmm.
we can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we've got a lot of visibility globally, but to
Mm-hmm.
earn that trust and to earn that accessibility and
Mm-hmm.
credibility,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to still work a few miles there.
Yeah. And sometimes people wonder why biotech drugs are so expensive. I mean,
Yes.
although some of the Indian companies and I think Indian companies need a big appreciation that they are trying to cut down the cost as much as possible. Sometimes they are cutting costs by 90%, but it is still very expensive. So a lot of people wonder why biotech drugs are so expensive. So as you mentioned, biotechnology companies can do something about more. Something on the education part, something about the information part, so that people are more familiar with biotechnology. As I mentioned in the beginning, the primary audience for this podcast is a younger people, and they are always hungry for the information. They are always hungry for how they can advance to new goal or new position or new responsibility. So I was just wondering what skills or qualities do you think are very important for someone who is already in the field or who is trying to enter into the field, or how they can advance themselves to a next bigger and higher role?
I would probably answer this question a little differently.
Okay.
My understanding, Arun, a person's interest and willingness means the most. I'm
Mm-hmm.
one who came from the field of medicine, did not have much skills of biotechnology or even competence thereby. But since I had interest and willingness, I learned the process, and they were good teachers. I learned from very, very good mentors and teachers. That's a different thing. But first and foremost, if a person wants to come in this field, they should be able to understand themselves that they're willing.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be an interest, there has to be a matching passion, of course, and then you can acquire the required skills and knowledge. You can pick up the subject. Already, we
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of engineers, mathematicians, statisticians, they're coming into this field and they're applying themselves. Fundamentals of science, you can learn biotech. It's not too much different, but your
Mm-hmm.
interest has to be there first and foremost.
Okay. Yeah. So interest and willingness, that's the most important thing. And as long as they have some basic understanding, they can learn. And nowadays there are so many channels, so many avenues which can give them enough information to learn something, anything which they want to learn. So.
Absolutely. And if I could just, I mean, if you look at Simon Sinek's philosophy, he's given this theory of golden circle, where
Hmm.
when you're choosing your options for the career, you start. He applied it to companies. I'll apply it to people choosing their careers. First, you have to think why you want to do it. Once you know
Hmm.
why, then you go to how, and then you
Hmm.
go to what.
Hmm.
Why they want to come into biotech, then they figure out how they would come into biotech, and then they figure out what they will do. So I would apply that theory of golden circle here also when we're making career options.
Yeah. And as you mentioned in the beginning, learn without barriers and surround yourself with the experts. And biotechnology is something, or science is something in which people want to share the information. So if somebody asks a question and somebody knows the answer, they will be more than happy to explain to them and share the knowledge. So as long as somebody has a interest and willingness to learn, they can achieve whatever they want to achieve, basically. Thank you very much for mentioning that. One other thing which I wanted to say is, obviously you are very successful and you have achieved a lot. But I was wondering, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
My younger self was quite impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned to you that I believe in taking quicker decisions, but probably one of the things which I could do is apply a little more of thinking in
Mm-hmm.
certain cases which I took decisions in. It's not that I regret any of them, but it would be that okay, I've thought through and maybe found out more avenues how to get to the solution rather than just take the most direct route. You can always get there and you will make mistakes and you will fall. But probably you
Mm-hmm.
apply yourself to think a little more about different options that you have when you come to that why.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, so Dr. Mehrotra, obviously biotechnology has grown a lot in India, especially in past 20 years. But what do you think the future of biotechnology is? I mean, when it comes to, as you mentioned in the beginning, it is going to be more personalized therapy and things like that. But when it comes to cell and gene therapy, where do you think the future lies in 5 years from now or 10 years from now?
Biotech, yeah, as I said, it'll be more platform driven, more patient centered approach. We do expect that cell and gene therapy will expand its in application, going, I mean, now from rare diseases to oncology, even metabolic or neurological diseases. I believe it has a space there. And affordability of this, how even people are working now on in vivo car, things like this. So
Mm-hmm.
newer developments in this area are expected. Regulations will be more streamlined. We've seen academics, industry, and regulators talk about these in different forums. So that should be possible that this collective thinking and application of mind will streamline some of acceptance and regulatory landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Not that models, I think, would start coming in this area for testing. Not
Hmm.
everything can be tested, especially at this specialized way of medicine in animal models. This is the
Okay.
future
Okay.
I anticipate in next 5 years.
One other thing which I wanted to find out about the future direction is that there is a big emphasis in India on make in India efforts. And biotechnology is something in which a lot of raw materials, whether it is equipment, whether it is raw materials or ingredients, or whether it is sometime like the cell lines, they come from other countries. So, what Indian companies can do to get a sort of independence, not necessarily 100%, but to make sure that all the raw materials and the equipments and the reagents they are produced in India.
A lot of efforts in indigenization are already going on in India. There's this
Hmm.
Atmanirbhar Bharat, Viksit Bharat, under which people are actually investing themselves and their portfolio into indigenizing a lot of raw materials.
Besides the make in India efforts, one other important topic for biologics is the cost of the final drug molecule. And we always talk about the cost of the raw materials. I wanted to get your views, your feedback on how we can cut down the cost of the final drug molecule when it comes to biologics.
Biologics, raw materials is not the only dominant cost driver here. Our COGS are also influenced by facility and equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And indigenize that as well. Some of the fermenters, resins, then
Mm-hmm.
labor and overhead costs are very high. We need to think about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of cost comes from yields, as you said, cell line development in India. So we have to get the experts who can take some of these cell line engineering process development to the next
Mm-hmm.
level. Then
Mm-hmm.
quality aspects have to become much more stringent because batch failures, that's a big driver of the cost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Type of processes, utilization of fluids versus cycle time, all these are also very important drivers of cost or
Mm-hmm.
COGS.
Mm-hmm.
Raw material will help cut costs because to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
10% or a 20% reduction in media or resin cost will give you some percentage reduction. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look at overall costs, this will be a fraction of cost only of the
Mm-hmm.
total
Mm-hmm.
spend.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Mm-hmm.
improve the yields by cell line development, that could be 2x or 3x in tighter, or even a 20 to 30% reduction in cycle time, or a higher
Mm-hmm.
success rate, less batch failures when
Mm-hmm.
we implemented our quality programs well. That could affect our COGS much more significantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
process efficiency could bring a more sustainable impact.
Yeah, and also I guess company needs to get a sort of understanding that made in India products are of good quality or top quality. That's
Yes,
also that perception is a little bit lacking at this time.
yes.
So that perception will also need to be changed for full make in India efforts. So
Another thing
yeah.
Another thing which we can bring is automation as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's very important because when we say about perception that you mentioned that
Mm-hmm.
products made in India may not be the best quality, sometimes when the
Mm-hmm.
data trail is there and we build over it step
Mm-hmm.
by step and we bring in that automation,
Mm-hmm.
questioning some of these developments could come to a lower extent to change that perception. That might be one of the drives we have to take.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, it will be the data who would speak for the quality. And
Yes,
so automation and again the AI, I think that effort will also be
would come.
playing an important part. Okay, Dr. Mehrotra, I think these are the things that we wanted to discuss. So we are coming towards the end, and we want to end this podcast by asking sort of a rapid fire question series. So I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and you can answer on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best or almost there or strongly agree, depending upon the type of question. And we wanted to finish this segment in less than 60 seconds. So I will start now. So the first question, quality of biotech drug products in India.
7,
The second question, production capacity in India.
8,
Okay. And innovation in India.
6,
Okay. IP protection in India.
5,
Okay. And adequate availability of talented workforce.
7.5,
Okay. Productive interactions among peers.
6,
Okay. Capital available to support or commercialize new ideas.
5,
Okay. And cost efficiency with the aim to cut down the cost of final product.
8,
Okay. And unambiguous guidelines for regulatory process.
6,
Okay. And finally, make in India efforts.
8.
Okay, so that ends our rapid fire questions and also the podcast. So thank you, Dr. Mehrotra, for coming to the podcast and sharing your knowledge, sharing your experience, and giving the guidance for the younger generation. So thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, Arun, and the entire Biotech Stage team. Really appreciate your effort and also for having me here. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.